From Jonathan K. Here are the questions you need to answer when applying for an emergency supply teacher position at the Toronto District School Board. Yikes. So, okay, wokeness is really wormed and weaseled its way into Canadian education. And I mean, it just, how does it happen so quickly? I guess it did. It's not that it happened quickly, it happened quietly over a long period of time. You know, a lot of things, they happen slow and then really fast. Let's see. Please indicate the areas in which you are comfortable in identifying. Do you identify yourself as female, male, gender fluid, not real, gender queer, not real, non-binary, not real, transgender? I don't know. Two spirit, that's was just made up like 15 years ago. That's supposed to be the indigenous thing, but I think it was actually made up by like white leftists. So these are the institutions that are teaching our children. Do they think that people can be something called gender fluid? I mean, I just can't get my head around this. It's just astonishing to me. Gender queer, they think there's such a thing as gender queer or non-binary. Like, where are the biology teachers? They should know. At least they should know. Do you identify yourself as an indigenous person? Yes or no? That shouldn't matter. Do you identify yourself as a racialized person of color? Yes or no? This racialized, I first noticed this word, I think about 4 or 5 years ago. It started to get it was everywhere in Canada. It started to become ubiquitous in the press, in the Canadian press. Racialized. And it's such an insidious term, racialized. It's something that's being done to you, not something you have any control over. It doesn't matter whether you're living in Canada, whether you were born here or you immigrated 2 years ago or last week. Apparently, the second that you step foot in Canada, you're immediately racialized. This thing called racialization happens to you. Where all the white people, I guess it has to be the white people, right? All the white people do this thing called racializing you. You've been racialized. I mean, do they give them like a little pamphlet when people immigrate here that explains to them that as soon as they step foot in Canada, they're racialized. You are now racialized. You've been racialized. How do you feel? The same? Well, you shouldn't. You should feel racialized. Can't you feel all of the hate? It's fucking crazy. It's this insidious thing. It's because there must be oppression, right? For the leftists, there must be oppression. This is what feeds them. And they're ravenous and they will never get full. So they just kind of rig the game, right? You're just automatically racialized as soon as you get to Canada. Canada is not a horrible racist country, all right? It's actually a nice country. People are definitely at their wits' end about the mass immigration now, but that is a logistics issue. There's just too many people. The infrastructure, healthcare, everything, we can't handle it, right? And of course, are there cultural issues? Of course there are. A lot of people are now wondering, why do we need people with these tablecloths on their head, with their faces covered, screaming about killing all the Zionists? Why did we need that exactly? But that's not even racial. That's just ideology. That's just that's just as much some white Antifa far leftist, revolutionary communist. But they rig the game. You're just automatically racialized. That's what this means. Are you a person of color? You're racialized. Doesn't matter if you feel racialized or not. They're telling you that you are, and you better believe them. What a bunch of fucking sick bollocks. It's demented. In fact, I think it's evil to try and manipulate people in this way. Do you identify yourself as a person with a disability? Well, isn't it one of those things where you either kind of got one or you don't? No, do you identify? I identify myself as somebody with one leg, but you've got two. I can see them. Yeah, but I identify myself as a person with one. So I've got a disability then. I identify that way. None of this makes any fucking sense. This is all lunacy. Do you identify yourself as asexual, bisexual, gay? Why would anybody need to know if you're asexual? I mean, that's just nothing. You're just not into it. You just don't want any. You don't like a bit of it. Why does anybody need to know any of these things? All of this stuff is the least interesting thing about anybody in the first place. Certainly not something to build an entire identity around. Pansexual. I mean, we have to treat these things as if they're real, as if they make any fucking sense. Let's see if there's any comments underneath this. I love how they ask if you're two-spirit under both gender identity and sexual orientation, because no one has any clue what two-spirit actually means. So they want to cover their bases. I know. That's why they've got the plus two. And sometimes they have the two pluses. So LGBTQ plus whatever plus, and then sometimes it's plus plus, which I think is all the shit they haven't thought of yet, but they definitely know it exists. Correction, as C. Sally pointed out, applicants are permitted to skip this selection of the application, so my use of the word need was wrong. Yeah, but what happens if you skip that part of the application? I'm wondering about that. I'm guessing if you skip that part of the application, your application goes in the garbage, because they definitely want to know this stuff. Why? For equity reasons, so they know who to hire based on totally irrelevant details. God damn it. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.